Let's take a journey to the Sunshine State, where the warm climate and expansive waterways make it a haven for a variety of species. But among them, there lurks an unexpected menace, the iguana. These scaly invaders are not native to Florida. They were first introduced as exotic pets from Central and South America in the mid-20th century. However, some escaped or were released into the wild, and they found Florida's climate to their liking. In the years since their unintended introduction, iguanas have flourished, their numbers growing at an alarming rate. This rapid population growth has been fueled by a lack of natural predators and an abundant food supply. In fact, they've grown so prolific that they're now considered an invasive species. But why are they a problem, you might ask? Well, iguanas are not just harmless sunbathers. Their burrowing habits cause extensive damage to infrastructure, eroding foundations and causing sidewalks to collapse. Moreover, they pose a significant threat to local flora and fauna. With an insatiable appetite, they devour native plants, altering habitats and disrupting the balance of the ecosystem. This in turn affects other wildlife that depends on these plants for survival. But the impact doesn't stop there. Iguanas also pose a direct threat to agriculture. They have a particular fondness for certain crops, causing substantial losses for farmers. Despite their seemingly unassuming nature, these reptiles have become a significant ecological and economic burden. The issue is far from trivial, as we'll see in the case of a particular farm in Florida. Imagine waking up one day to find your farm overrun by these reptilian invaders. In the heart of Florida, a farmer's peaceful morning routine is shattered by an unexpected sight. The fields that were once lush and teeming with crops are now a playground for hundreds, no, thousands of iguanas. These creatures, while fascinating in their own right, have become an unwelcome guest in this farming community, turning what was once a sanctuary of productivity into a battlefield. You see, these iguanas aren't just lounging about, soaking up the sun. They're feasting on the fruits of hard labor, chomping down on everything from strawberries to citrus fruits. And they are not picky eaters either. They're devouring not just the fruits, but also the leaves, the shoots, and the flowers, leaving in their wake a trail of devastation that's hard to ignore. The farmer's alarm clock is no longer the morning sun, but the rustling of scaly bodies slithering through the fields. The usual farm chores have been replaced with the daily task of removing these invaders, an effort that feels like trying to empty the ocean with a bucket. Imagine the effort, the time, the resources spent, and all the while, the yield of the farm dwindles. This is not a horror story. This is a real-life predicament faced by farmers in Florida. These invasive iguanas, originally from Central and South America, have found a comfortable home in Florida's warm climate. But their comfort comes at a high cost to the local farmers. The damage to the crops directly impacts the livelihood of these farmers, adding an unexpected and unwelcome expense to their budget. The ripple effect of this invasion touches every aspect of their lives, from their daily routine to their annual income. As we can see, the impact is not just ecological but also economic. So what can be done when you're facing an iguana invasion? When the usual methods of pest control fall short, it's time to think outside the box. In the case of the Floridian farmers, they've had to resort to measures that are as unconventional as the problem itself. They've called in the professionals, teams of experienced iguana removers, to combat this reptilian onslaught. These professionals are trained to handle iguanas, using a variety of methods to capture and remove the creatures. They employ traps, lures, and even hands-on capture techniques to deal with the iguanas effectively. It's a job that requires patience, resilience, and a knack for outwitting these crafty invaders. The work of these iguana removers is not without its challenges. Iguanas are intelligent creatures, and they can quickly learn to avoid traps and other threats. They're also excellent swimmers and climbers, making them difficult to catch. Nonetheless, these professionals are persistent, continuously adapting their methods to outsmart the iguanas. But the farmers aren't relying solely on the experts. They've taken matters into their own hands too, setting up homemade traps and using deterrents like garlic and hot pepper, which the iguanas find unpalatable. It's a constant game of cat and mouse, or rather farmer and iguana, as both sides adapt and respond to each other's tactics. The Fightback has seen some successes. Hundreds of iguanas have been removed from the farms, helping to reduce the damage to crops and restore a semblance of balance to the ecosystem. But the battle is far from over. With thousands of iguanas still roaming the fields, the farmers and their hired experts know they have their work cut out for them. Yet there's a sense of determination that pervades the air, a resolve to protect their livelihoods and the native flora and fauna of Florida. There's no backing down, no surrendering to the scaly invaders. The battle is ongoing, but every iguana removed is a small victory. The farm's struggle is not an isolated case. Indeed, the invasive iguana issue is a statewide challenge that Florida is wrestling with. These green invaders have found a home elsewhere in the Sunshine State, causing a ripple effect of ecological and economic disruptions. From suburban neighborhoods to public parks, the iguanas are leaving no stone unturned, or rather, no leaf uneaten. They're not just a farmer's nightmare anymore. Homeowners are also grappling with the destruction of their beautifully manicured landscapes. And it's not just the aesthetics at stake. The iguana's burrowing habits are undermining infrastructure, causing damage to sidewalks, building foundations, and even seawalls. The state and local authorities are not sitting idle. They're actively involved in efforts to curb this reptilian invasion. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, for instance, encourages residents to humanely kill these iguanas on their property without a permit. It's a clear indicator of the severity of the situation. On a legislative level, Florida has laws in place that prohibit the release of iguanas into the wild. The state has also enlisted professional trappers and is investing in public awareness campaigns about the risks of invasive species. But it's not just about controlling the population. It's also about preserving Florida's unique ecosystem. The iguanas, after all, are competing with native species for resources and altering habitats. The situation has also sparked a debate on ethical treatment of animals and the balance between human interests and wildlife protection. It's a complex issue with no easy solutions, but it's evident that a more comprehensive approach is needed. From research and regulations to public participation and professional trapping, it's all hands on deck. While these efforts are a positive step, they underline a larger global issue: the impact of invasive species on our ecosystems. It's not just about one state, one species, or one farm. It's about our planet, our shared home. It's clear that this is an issue that needs a collective effort to solve, and it's a challenge we must rise to for the sake of our environment, economy, and future generations. After all, the health of our planet is in our hands. Invasive iguanas in Florida, a problem that's more than just skin deep. We've journeyed together through the dense foliage of this complex issue, peering into the world of Florida's farming community and their unanticipated adversaries, the invasive iguanas. A problem that, as we've seen, isn't just about an overpopulation of reptiles, but one that reaches deep into our ecosystem and economy. These iguanas, innocuous as they may seem, have shown themselves to be formidable foes to Florida's farmers. Their relentless appetite, not just for vegetation, but for native wildlife too, has had a profound impact on the local ecosystem. The balance of nature has been disrupted, causing ripple effects that extend far beyond the boundaries of a single farm. But it's not just the natural world that's feeling the strain. The economic impact is tangible. The cost of damage to farms, the loss of crops, and the resources needed to control the iguana population, it all adds up, weighing heavily on the shoulders of the local community. Yet amidst this adversity, we've seen a determined fight back, a collective effort to reclaim the land and restore the balance of nature. From iguana hunting challenges to the development of innovative solutions, the human spirit is resilient. We've witnessed the strength of a community united in a common cause, with a testament to our innate drive to protect our home and livelihood. But this isn't just a local problem. The issue of invasive species is a global one. It's a stark reminder of the delicate balance of our ecosystems and the potential consequences of human intervention. It's a call to action for us all, a prompt to be more mindful of our actions and their potential ripple effects on the world around us. So as we draw this journey to a close, let's remember that every challenge presents an opportunity for learning and growth. The fight against invasive iguanas in Florida continues, and it's a fight that affects us all, whether we live in Florida or not.